Okay, guys, let's do a quick walkthrough of how to set up your template for magazine ad if you are using the Adobe products. You don't have to. I gave you other options. But if you've never built an ad before in Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign, there's a certain way, depending on the program, that you have to do that. So to find the assignment, go over here to Course Content and click on the assignment folder. And if you scroll down to magazine ad, you can see that's where we're going to start here. And so the actual page size of a magazine is usually 8.5 by 11, which is a standard sheet of paper. But when you're building that for the printer, the professional printing press, you're going to have a 1/4 inch bleed all the way around that then gets trimmed off. So your actual file size in Photoshop, and I stress in Photoshop because Illustrator and InDesign will build in the bleed lines for you. In Photoshop, you have to do it manually. So the actual size is 9 by 11.5 inches at 300 dpi, which is the same thing as resolution. And we're going to be in CMYK color mode because it's going to a printing press. If it were a digital ad, we would be in RGB. So let's go to Photoshop and look at how to set this thing up. So the first thing you're going to do is go up to File and click on New. And make sure over here you're set to inches. If you're not, you can do the drop down and select that. But we want our width to be 9 inches. And we want our height to be 11.5. And of course, that's going to be our orientation. Resolution is already set to 300 here, but I do need to change my color mode to CMYK. So then we're going to click Create. And there's my page. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit by doing Command plus or Control plus if you're on a PC. I'm going to come up here and grab my Select tool or the Move tool. And so the first thing I need to do is actually manually set my bleed margins since Photoshop does not do that. So we have to set them at 1/4 inch all the way around. So there's a couple ways to do that. You can do this manually by coming up here to the ruler and you can click, hold and drag down to where it says 0.25. It's a little bit hard to get it exact. Oh, good enough right there. And so if I zoom out, Command minus, you can see that's at 1/4 inch. That's pretty easy to do, and it's pretty easy to do the side one. Click, hold, and drag over here. All right, because we know that 1/4 inch is 0.25. Okay. But when you're looking at doing this side over here or the bottom, you actually have to do a little bit more math, guys. So if I have 9 inches and I want to take away 1/4 inch, it's going to be 8.75. And again, you can click, hold and drag, or if you come up here to view, and I realize my screen is being cut off. I'm sorry about that. But if you click on view up at the top and go to new guide, you can actually type that in. So 8.75, and it puts it there automatically for me. So again, I can do it here. I can go view, new guide. I want to switch to horizontal this time because we're doing this one right here. And if that is 11.5, the length is 11.5, we're going to take off 1/4 inch. So it'll be 11.25. Okay. So there are my bleed margins. This blue line all the way around means I don't want anything of importance past this point because it'll get chopped off. However, if I want, say I'm doing a color background that's all blue, or I'm doing a photo, you want to take that all the way past this blue margin to the white edge. But and that way when the paper's cut, it looks like the image is going off the page. It would look weird. You don't see very many magazine ads that have like this white border all the way around them. So you want to bring your image all the way over. And I should have pulled an image, but if I'm going to draw a square, let me just do this. So add a new layer, and I'm going to grab my marquee tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle here, and I'm going to go up to edit, excuse me, and fill, and I'm going to go with the foreground color, which right now is a dark green over here on my color thing. And then I'm going to do Command D to deselect. And I'm going to grab my select tool again. And you either have to go over here and make sure the layer's clicked on, or if you have this auto select selected, you can just click off and click on. So if you're using like a regular in-house printer, you don't want anything to go past this bleed margin. So you would stop it right here. But since we're going, right here, since it's going to a professional printer, you don't want this white space to show. So you're going to take this green box or your photo or whatever, and you're going to go all the way past the bleed margin. That way when they come along and cut this paper, it's going to be solid green. The other thing with the bleed margin though, you want to pay attention to where you're putting your text. You do not want your text right along the edges. So if I go over here and select the text tool, and I'm just going to click, and I have no idea what font I have here. Okay, well, that's fine, but let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So if I bring my text all the way up here, like right this, like that, think about when this goes to print and they cut off this edge. Your text is going to also be falling off the paper, which will look weird. And also, unless you're doing this for a design reason, having your text this close to an image is not good. Like, you want your text to have room to breathe. So I'm going to pull this away from this screen by about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to pull it down from the bleed margin by about 1/4 of an inch. So really, I want my text in about 1/2 an inch all the way around. And just to test to see if I'm doing that, again, I can pull down this margin. 1/2 inch would be 0.5. And same thing here, it's going to be 0.5. Oh, I lied, it's not going to be 0.5 right here. Okay. I can see by looking at this, like this is 1/2 inch right here. And I can tell that the space from this green box to this blue line is about the same amount as this. So my text is going to be balanced. And when they go to cut the paper right here, there's going to be 1/4 of an inch space so I don't get my text chopped off. So I know that seems like a lot, but once you get the hang of setting it up like that, it's not a big deal. You can even set it up as a template and save it. Speaking of saving, for those of you who haven't done a lot of Photoshop, always save your layered files. Your layers are over here on the side. So if I need to make a change to my text, I can. If I want to change this color, I can. If I flatten these layers and that's the only version I have saved, I cannot make any changes past that point. So to turn in on Blackboard, well, first of all, you're going to save. You're just going to save your file. Yes. Okay. You're going to name it, whatever. We're going to name it hello, I guess. And choose where, I'm just going to drop it on the desktop right now. Okay, so this is saved as a Photoshop file with the layers. You can upload this to Blackboard, but I may not, it doesn't let me see it. It doesn't let me view it. So you're actually going to, after you've saved your layered file and you're finished, you're going to come up here to the layer tab. Again, I know this is cutting off my margin, I'm sorry. But you're going to go to layer, and you're going to go all the way down the bottom, and you're going to click flatten image. And when I do, that compresses all my layers into one. This makes my file size smaller. That's the main reason to do that. And then you're going to go to file, and you're going to do save as, and you're going to save it as either JPEG. I was gonna say I don't have ping as an option, so just go ahead and save it as a JPEG. And you're going to click save. And if file size is an issue, if you need it to be good quality, you want it to be up here. But if it doesn't have to be as good quality and you're having trouble getting it emailed, you can bring it down. I wouldn't go past a 5, to be honest. And click OK. And then when I go to my very messy desktop, you can see I have the Photoshop file and I have the JPEG file. So the JPEG file I can upload to Blackboard or send to my publisher or whoever. And then if I need to go in there and make edits, I can open the Photoshop file and be able to work within the layers to make those changes. So real quick, I'm almost out of time on this video, but if I'm going to do this in Illustrator, I don't know that any of you will do it in InDesign. I'm sorry, I should have had this open for us. Okay. So in Illustrator, you're going to go to Create New, and you want it custom, you want it letter, it's already there for you. Again, make sure you're on inches, 8.5 by 11. Okay, but see right here it has a thing that says bleed. This is where it's easy. So 0.25, which is 1/4 of an inch, and if this is clicked like this, it's going to make it all the way around. Okay, we're in color mode, we're at 300 resolution, so we're going to create this. Okay, so it looks a little bit different than the Photoshop document. As you can see, this red line right here, that is your bleed margin. So again, if I'm going to do a green box, or whatever color, we'll do blue this time. Okay, so if I'm going to do this box, stop it, cancel, grab my select tool. If I go to just right here, if I just put it there when this prints at the printer, it's going to, you're going to have a little bit of white space. So you want to take that green box all the way. Oh, except I'm dragging it the wrong place. You want to take it all the way to this bleed margin. Okay. Now, if I'm doing a logo or something like that, anything important, again, anything important, you do not want to go past that point. So say this is my logo. Okay. If I put it right here in this corner, right up to that, it's going to get partially cut off. And if I put it all the way out to the bleed margin, it's really going to get cut off. And whoever's paying you to do it is not going to be happy that their logo was cut off. So again, you want to stay within about 1/4 of an inch for anything that's really important. Make sure you have some white space there. So that, like I said, that's really quickly how you do that in Illustrator. InDesign is the same way. You put in your file size, which is 8.5 by 11, and then it has the option to set your bleed margin at 1/4 of an inch. I do not know why they don't do it that way in Photoshop, other than just to be annoying, I guess. So anyways, also when you save in Illustrator for Blackboard, always save your original, okay, your original Illustrator file. But then when you're going to submit it, you can, they've changed some of this up a little bit. So if I do save for web, you can upload it right there as a ping file. And that'll go to Blackboard, and then I can view it. So just some things to consider. If you have any questions or need help on this week's magazine assignment, just let me know, and we will get through.